Hi, welcome to Relatively Speaking 2020. My name is Rosemary, and I'm actually going to do a collective card read tonight. I'm going to work with three different decks. I have the Rose Oracle, and I have Oracle of Roses, and I also have a Sacred Power deck as well. I might pull out a few other ones and see how it goes. I did just do a video where I channel music to paint, and if you can see some of my paintings on here, these are just reference paintings that I have up on the sides. I do have some paintings on the wall behind me, if you see. And again, I work for commission on painting music and painting souls. And soul paintings are something that I do with energy healing, and I do go into said library. Each person, sorry for the unfocus, I also have my cat behind me. I'm going to take care of him. His name's Siva. Um, I have a library I was gifted with at birth. God's Force held me at birth. I had members before my birth and gave me a library. And in my journey, in my path, it's been a lot difficult keeping my mouth shut and a lot of hiding. I've been hiding for a while. I haven't kind of fully stepped out. Um, and that's part of my story, and which will foray into story time. I do have a podcast called Story Time, and I'm encouraging people in the spiritual community. A lot of people don't know where to turn or who to talk to, or other people experience to know that, you know what, you're not alone, you're not crazy. There are things happening that you see that you may not be able to explain. We do have a group of people within our Discord server that are able to explain what is happening. We understand what the framework is. This simulation that we are in, it is an advanced simulation. It's like a computer, and there's an overarching server. There's also smaller clusters. Again, it's just a way to explain it. And it's a lot of, this is why a lot of our stories, and if you check out the podcast, the first three episodes had connecting dots between different religious factions, mythologies, and the common stories that are being retold over and over again because it is a common thread, and how it relates to a celestial computer that, again, stars that you see, that we are in, that we exist in, and the source that is powering it. And there is a particular source that is powering it, and each of us has that piece. We were each here created to have our own soul mission, our own experience, to create our own manifestations, to actually become more aware, real, and awake. And a lot of what people see as a historical, they're not understanding what time dilation is or what layers are. If you can imagine that you are dropped in a video game. Sometimes I like to use Skyrim as a video game, but imagine you're dropped in a video game and it is constantly being has DLC or downloadable content that is being downloaded into the game or uploaded into the game, and the developer for it, the source controller, is in the game. And a lot of people, like the Matrix, you're looking for the source door. There are key makers, and a lot of people, have some. There's master keys. There's people that control stuff. Don't scratch, dude. Sorry, he's kind of funny. And to get through on your path of, you say ascending, but it is also going in through your core. The more you strip out of yourself, again, a lot of people are out here wondering what's going on in society and what's broken. And I know I'm talking about it, and like I said, I'm going to do a collective card read, but a lot of times the cards will just affirm or validate what I'm talking about. You pay attention to what's going on out in the world, and it is, think about it as, did you observe it with your eyes, or is it something that's being put on television for you? A show, a program, a news program. And are you deprogramming yourself? And again, this does go with listen to certain what's being messages inside movies. Unlearn what you have learned. Strip yourself down, everything off. I mean, it is how you get through said core, to be completely bare, naked in front of source, and actually be stripped to go in. And that is part of, again, I'm using Star Wars references, but that is part of Star Wars, even to go in the cave on episode 5, I believe it was, Empire Strikes Back, and to go in the cave, only with what you take with you. He went in with a weapon, Luke did, and was battling his darker self, his chateau, which again was his fears. he feared he would become like Darth Vader, his father. He would become that, and he didn't know at the time, but that it was his father. But he would become that darkness. And if you look, and when he lobbed the head off of Darth Vader, it was his face inside of the helmet himself. So it's not destroying your shadow self. You actually can transmute it, but facing it, facing your fears, facing, hey, you know what? I'm not always a great person. There is that darkness. There's that the anger inside of me. And again, anger comes from hate, from fear, the lower vibrations that we're in. So these stories actually, the stories actually tell you how to ascend. And they're being retold over and over again. A lot of them are. Even Star Wars itself, Luke is a prince. He's Princess Leia, even Princess Amidala. So he's a lost king in a sense. And again, this does go back to Freemasonry. George Lucas is a Freemason, if you're not aware of that, and the stories that do tell of lost kings, which is actually one of the Solomon stories, Widower's son. Information that not everybody is privy to because it's kept hush hush. But again, it's called Coming Here with Gnosis. It's also called Coming Here with a Library. It's called Coming Here with Abilities. It is to shine a light in the darkness, because what is done in the dark will eventually be thrown into the light. And we do have people that we work with who have abilities to see on different perspectives, all perspectives, every perspective. And I would say every perspective, but again, we are constantly, source is constantly updating. It's alive, it's aware, the living force. And it's not static. And you limit yourself, you limit your source, you limit yourself. So one of the mottos, one of the things from my family was, it was in Latin, but it was to the stars and beyond. Keep going. Don't stop. Don't give up. So I'm going to pull a card here. Let's see what we get. This is the Rose Oracle deck. It's a fairly new deck. I believe it came out a few months ago. I'm not sure. Let's see what pops out. Yeah, here we go. We have the Mystic Rose. Compassion, devotion, humility, humanity, and grace. Important things at this point in time. Again, compassion, your devotion, don't give up, as I just said. Having humility, being humble. And that was in the last two videos I actually posted, is being humble enough to ask for help. As I've been stating myself, I'm just going to do one card from that. Asking for help. I'll show you the card. Humanity, grace, humanity coming together. The heart. See how that is? Opening your heart chakra up. And grace. So going with the knowing with no doubts. And I will read from the book. Again, I usually connect with the pictures, and I do connect this deck in particular. When I did receive this deck, I actually was in a dream space. I went and lay down, took a nap, and this particular card showed right up in my dream space. I was doing a read for a family member that I no longer talk to, and that family member did not like the card read in my dream space. However, the deck, all the cards showed up in it before I even actually opened it up and looked at it. So the Mystic Rose, so the rose is a symbol of the goddess of old. Again, our story is being retold. So it's no wonder that when Christianity absorbed large parts of Celtic traditions in Europe, the mother goddess, Mother Mary, become associated with the rose. Perhaps the reason Mary is so beloved is because she was the only mother goddess who could be worshipped safely, and as such carries with her the devotion and yearning of all those who long to worship the goddess in a feminine form. Mary's connection with the rose is seen in some of her titles, including Rose Mystica, the Mystic Rose. Again, a Mystic Rose also goes with Venus. If you ever see the Venus itself, its pattern, it's called the Mystic Rose pattern in its orbit when you look at it from Earth. Okay, and the Rose Without Thorns was also one of her titles. Like those of the pagan goddess before her. And if you I'm going to stop. If you don't know about it, the rose was said to grow in the Garden of Eden in God's garden, and originally it had no thorns on it. And it wasn't until the rose was cast into the world that thorns grew from the sin of humanity. Um, so, like those of the pagan goddess before her, the procession that honored Mary involved walking on rose petals. The church altered the stories of goddesses past, including those that featured roses such as Aphrodite turning the white rose red with her blood, putting Mary in the goddess's place. Churches were erected all over Europe and beyond, in many cases on the site of Celtic temples and places of goddess worship. Many had beautiful rose windows in the west, the direction of the feminine, and dedication to Mary, Mother of the Rose. This is a card of compassion, devotion, and grace. It encourages us to soften towards humanity and to endeavor to see the world and even those who have hurt us with understanding and open heart. Again, the heart that you see on here. And deep humility. So, and I've been saying, as a lot of people see me and other spaces, and I just say I'm Rose. I'm living out life as Rose right now. You may have seen me in other spaces. I do work in a quantum space as well, and I do manifest here. But again, I'm just Rose. Other people, again, people see people as they are, not necessarily as the person is. So this is the understanding of the open heart. To see that we all carry hurt and are wounded. We have all experienced severing Mother Mary is inviting you to open your heart to humility, and when you most want to close it. So how are you being called to show compassion today? So again, how are you being showed how to be compassionate with humility, to show empathy, to show the world that you understand, the collective. Again, we were talking about it earlier, and when I started, people feeling the energy and not understanding exactly where, or even the story and the way the story goes, and stories go. Your darker self. Again, are you taking that in fear mode? Are you trying to destroy it? Which again, it's like destroying yin yang. You don't destroy the dark side of the yin yang, it doesn't balance then. And this is us coming into 0 point balance, which is when you sit in your balance point, you don't go out and attack people. You actually sit there. And a lot of people that come at you are attacking you with negativity. They're actually just seeing your mirror, your clear flowing water. They're seeing a mirror of themselves, especially if you say something and they don't want to understand you, and they equate it to themselves, or throw something derogatory at you. Instead of you're doing your best to be heard, and it may not always be understood. And again, human language, English itself can be very confusing. And this is why you have empaths. Their emotions. We read what you don't say. We read your body language. We read your energy. And we go with what we feel. This is why it's difficult. It's been a difficult time for a collective, and with all the stuff going on in the world. There's a reason why this is all seems chaotic, but it's actually just like I talked about earlier. It's bringing what's in the dark to light. We're actually just exposing the darkness. We're exposing fear. Where's it coming from? Who's doing that? Why? Where is the control system? And there's people that perceive they want to take the power to control people, and take back your power, your light up inside. Go inside of you and ignore that fear in the outside. Control your fears. One of the other movies I like, and this, for me, it started with a book. I wasn't aware of the movies until much later, of Dune, the fear litany of going through your fear, turning your inner eye and seeing its path, and where it goes, only you remain afterwards. You go through it, and all that remains is you. Because as you go through your fear and you don't conquer said fear, you're able to look at it. Look at that dark side. Look at your other side, your shadow side, and integrate it. transmute it, to turn it into light. Take your passion and light it up. This one I'm not gonna, sometimes I like to shuffle, but a lot of times they tell a story when I'm actually just flipping them. So I'm gonna flip this one. So again, this is also for what we're talking about in right now. These are messages for the collective, but also validating what I've been talking about for quite a long time, for 30 some years. And the card I have is change. So again, what we're talking about duality is, you see there's two different seasons here. There's actually summer and into fall. So this also is the change happening in a fall sense. And I have seen a lot of people talking about how things happen in the autumn. This is actually much like that in the autumn. You can see the changing from seasons, but also you see the change in the middle. See how he's standing in the middle also? 0 point, even though it's in between this change, and you see these winds swirling around this individual here. This person is talking about the duality, the change, to be balanced and walk that path right down the middle. No fear, with grace, again, as the card I just drew beforehand. And this particular card deck I'm using is called the Sacred Power. And it's fairly new as well. And this is a message for you to stand in grace. It goes with the first card that I pulled. It actually flew out of the deck. And it's something that I believe is happening in the summer to fall. There's a lot of changes happening this summer. If you're not aware of it, I had two cards fly out, and this change that coming. We have retreat, and we actually have unconditional love. So we have unconditional love. Again, it goes back to the mother card. Again, what I was talking about with compassion, devotion, humility, humanity, and grace. This is also opening up your heart to unconditional love. What people are talking about 5D, 3D, and 5D. We are in a 3D body. We're in a 3D space. But what's inside of us, your core, your spirit, is actually your 5D. If you can do the unconditional, you actually break those chains of time, which is 4D. It's the fourth dimension is time. But you also break the conditions that are here, and it breaks an illusion. It actually shatters an illusion. And by doing so, and this is the retreat card. And again, this is a new deck. I have not read from the book. I will read this particular card from the book. Your retreat card, you can actually see, like I've been talking about, this heaven space. Once you break the unconditional love, when you break the conditions into unconditional love, you actually start creating the heaven home. OM. Home space is in your heart, and actually you push that out and resonate it out inside of your world. Once you're not in that fear mode and that lower vibe, when you start walking in grace, even through all those changes that are going on, you actually can start manifesting heaven here, what's inside here. You actually bring it here. Again, you're connected to your higher self, especially through unconditional love. And when you connect to your higher self knows what they're doing. And I say they because, again, being full spectrum, being both divine feminine and divine masculine, I actually do both. And this is why I'm a very open individual, is because I have both inside of me, and they're in balance. It's a 0 point. When we lose that fear that we're embodying, when you look out into the world and you see the materials and you see people panicking, or what agenda is being pushed by said government or a television program, what is being programmed into you, break those programs, break those paradigms, break the cycle of it. And it doesn't mean, like I said, you can't watch certain things. There's a lot of stories that are being, if you know how to read them, the symbols underneath, you'll be able to read in a story, in a movie, in a show, and not be programmed by it, but to actually deprogram what's being said. What is the story underneath? This is what I've been teaching inside of Storytime. How to look for the patterns, the common threads, and actually break them down. What's the story? What's the message being showed? The one that's underneath, without it being control. And you can see the control side of it, but you'll actually get the message from it as well. And reflection. What's being reflected to you, as I was talking about earlier, when somebody is, and you're giving out love, you're giving a message out, and somebody is judging you, and somebody's saying, no, no, you're wrong. And it doesn't, and that doesn't mean that you may be right. It may be, okay, let me look at what you're saying. Let's connect the dots. Let's see. Doesn't mean that you're necessarily always right. But when you look at that reflection and somebody is reflecting back dark, see, again, we have this moon, and usually a moon in a card represents shadow work. So what is being reflection? Are you afraid of your reflection? Are you afraid to look at yourself? Really look at yourself. Look at your actions, how you react to something. The biggest thing you can do is, when somebody is angry at you, is not to react. Don't feed that anxiety. Understand it. Again, the heart, the devotion part. To understand that people are hurting. Have empathy for that. And if you point it out and a person continues to step over your boundaries, don't let it happen. You can walk away. You have a choice. You could call it out. You could say, this is not acceptable, not even as in a human being. Okay, it's not acceptable. I understand you're hurting. I understand that you're feeling a certain way, and wish them healing. Hey, I'll help you. And if they're still not able to rest in that time period, or understand the retreat, rest, or let their heart space open and still be angry, they're just not ready. They're not ready for that at the moment. It doesn't mean that again, we're in different layers, like I said. Doesn't mean that they're not able to come back around. However, we are in a particular layer. I'm going to actually stop on this one. And we are in a particular layer right now, particular time space, where, again, certain teachers have been here for a while. We've been saying information, and people haven't quite been listening. Or they've been quick to judge. They weren't at a place where we could talk about a lot of this. Back in 2020, when started doing this YouTube, they couldn't find a lot of people that would understand. So the reflection card, actually, it says keep your distance and ask for help. Again, what I've just been saying. So stepping away from others is essential to seeing the truth in all situations. The wolf asks you to be cautious of the people around you and honor your own personal space, so boundaries. And again, this is for time you've been reading this book. I haven't read this one. These cards are fairly new. So honor your personal space, thoughts, and feelings. Sometimes you need to separate yourself from the pack in order to gain perspective and move on in a direction that benefits you. Brief solitude will bring honest answers. Being emotionally vulnerable and truly honest with yourself, answering those difficult questions and asking where you truly want to be in life, charges you with powerful realizations and understandings. The wolf signifies the influence of addictions, manipulation, and use-abuse scenarios. It is important for you to comprehend the root of those patterns and behaviors to bring well-being to your mind, body, and spirit. Recognize that these issues may require professional advice. Seek help. You can rise above the negative impact of your shadow side. Understanding your needs can be difficult if you spend too much time listening to other people. So go within. So listen to your instincts builds a relationship of trust with your intuition, your senses, and higher self. What I was just talking about, connecting to your higher self. So right now, the wolf asks you to take time away from others so you can separate your thoughts and feelings. So retreat, as I said, as the card previously, from influence of other people. Be careful in communicating with others or oversharing sensitive information that is important to you and your family. Stay clear of gossip and holding secrets for others. Reassess and evaluate your current situation. What is your source of motivation? I am now willing and able to see the truth in all situations. I accept my vulnerability. It adds strength to my being. So that's the integration of yourself, your vulnerability, your reflection in the mirror. And like I was saying before, the retreat part, which is actually, and it's funny how the reflection is 25, so it's 7. Retreat is 27, which is 9, which is a change. So this is spend time in nature, seek silence and solitude. So again, this whole seeking solitude. I won't read the whole of this, but it is saying, I am clearly aligned with the Earth's natural rhythms, and I'm able to process empathy and with the, again, the other from the other deck, devotion, and minimal disruption to my mind, body, and spirit. So again, this is bringing your fears, having your fears, facing them, that reflection, and going with grace. Go in retreat, go into solitude, go within yourself, go within that heaven space and the unconditional love, the heart space here. um Again, the unconditional love of Mother Earth, Gaia herself, that type of love, and break through those paradigms of your shadow self. And I'll get one more card. This is from the Oracle of the Roses. These are actually cards that show different types of roses throughout history, and their botanical use. But also comes with a message on each one. So I will draw them, and we'll close out this read. I don't usually do long ones, and I know it's been a little bit, it's about 20 some minutes. And if you'd like, oh, I have 2 cards pop out. It's a little too many, so I'll show up again. If you'd like a reading, I will do readings 11/11 for 4-card reads, and 22/22 for a 30-minute read, 44/44 for an hour-long read. Usually I'd rather do art, so my prices for readings are a little low. It's not a problem. If you'd like to go longer, if you'd like art session or art therapy, you can do that. Okay, and here we got for this one, for spirit, for the last closing, we have the Giver, which is an Adam rose, and it's from an old garden rose. It's number 29, which is actually 11, which is a master number, and it's for intuition, a master of intuition. Just what I know offhand. And this is talking about the Giver, which is an Adam rose. Again, Adam rose being the atom, the first, what would in the Bible be the first matter, or atom as ATOM, as the atom, and how it connects to each Gaia. And there are several overlapping Gaias here right now. Building a home space, we're overlapping to build that, bring that heaven space here. We each of us has been giving a certain bit of a library. So in this one, it for the message, it is to slow down the rhythm of your life and give yourself more time, more love, and understanding, and make sure the patterns you have already created are serving you well. You could find that this is a good time to take an additional training, and those in such a position could be drawn to teach what they know. Be wary of neglecting your own needs at the moment. So self-care, so going within as well, and understanding. The Giver is committed to community, so a community, and to the care and support of others and their surrounds. They are dedicated to creating strong, lasting legacies that can ensure the longevity of what they care about. What do you hope your legacy will be? So again, the even goes with the unconditional love, but also the giving, the community part, the understanding, and the meanings on this is education, generosity, legacy, community, compassion. Again, right to the first one, the compassion part here. And some of the deities that this is connected to is actually Demeter, which of the brain, Minerva, Kuan Yin, and in Buddhist, she was the feminine aspect of Buddha. Aliyah and Clementia. And the astrological sign it goes with was Cancer. So again, bring your compassion, your understanding into a situation. Don't always react. Again, it's controlling your fear, going inside the shadow work, taking a moment to slow down and pause. Be in the now. It's one of the biggest things. When you're centered in yourself and you're sitting at 0 point, you're sitting in your now. And you flow. You actually flow like water. It's funny. It's a Cancer sign. It's a water sign. But you're able to adapt to these changes and going within with the heart space, the unconditional love. And when you're connected, it's okay. It's funny. It's an Adam rose. So atom at center point. And as I've talked about before in a lot of my story times, now these been out for the first 3 podcasts I did have been out for a couple months. I do talk about the divine feminine in them. I'm actually going to be putting out more. They're sort of like lessons. You can actually come and learn within the school. You can ask questions. We can have a lesson talk. We can actually have a group podcast if you like, um, and talk about these subjects. And I do understand, study a lot of history, mythology. I've been doing this since I was younger with this library that's in my head. I mean, like age 5. Uh, age 2 is at a 6th grade reading level, so I was able to pick up books and go, okay, yes, tie all these together. And we talk about the divine feminine in those stories from the beginning, even Ra and the 7 Hathors, the 7 sisters, the Pleiades. And if you actually look at 6 sisters, again, or creation, 7th one was being androgynous. Even Ra himself was considered to be androgynous. And some of the older stories you have with Tiamat, they're paired together, and sometimes source itself is androgynous because it is. It's its own twin flame. It is dual perspective. It is completely whole, full spectrum. It is divine masculine and feminine combined. And being in that energetic place where you're able to generate that out. You're sitting in your yin yang. And how the 7 sisters, like I said, the Pleiades, 7th being atom, an atom of proton, the middle part, and the electrons, which is quantum. So Gaias that are quantum, multiple Gaias, and if 6 of them, it actually creates an atom, a specific atom pattern, and I believe it's carbon, which is carbon based of humans. Humans are carbon based to create humanity. So again, creation, sisters of creation. And a lot of these stories go together, and even have, like I said, 7 chakras, 7 openings, but there's actually 8 once you combine them all together, and it creates that infinity space. 9 being a end of an actual universe, or whole universe being the end, and then 10 continuing into a multiverse. And like I said before, I do have a multiversal library. I do work in a multiversal space. I do work with my sisters. They also have their libraries as well. And when we connect and we overlap and we connect those threads together, we actually work together and we start manifesting together. We start building together. And a lot of us have our own builds. Again, we have Mystic Vicky. Kira has her own build, and whether she shares that with you or not is up to her. She does do a lot of astrology. She is very good at tarot, and she's a remote energy healer. Mystic Vicky works with Spirit Realm very well and has been teaching people in her space about spirits and about the realm itself, and how to see them, how to communicate with Spirit Realm. And she also works on a fairy oracle deck, or oracles fairies deck, I'm not sure which one, and does tarot that way, and in a beautiful way. And she connects with animals as well. We all share abilities, and we cross train between each other, and a lot of telepathy goes on. And we do have other people in. We also have Lady Avenge. She's also within our Discord, and she works in a dream space very well, astral space. She gets a lot of messages, a lot of synchronicities that she pays attention to. And Malice, who is able to explain the inverse, the upside down, the negative antimatter side. If you'd like to talk with him as well, I will be having, when they're ready, each one of them on their own story with the podcast. But until then, I will continue talking about the ways the stories connect. Next podcast coming out, and I did do a longer video explaining a little bit of it, but the next one will be more structured, the actual podcast. Quantum Realm, I'll be talking about Emerus. I'll be talking about the quantum crystal cave, the infinite pool of possibilities, how they actually snake together, and how it snakes together with Source as an incarnation, as a thought pattern, as a particular time. So I will leave this read. Again, I only drew a few cards, and it did confirm everything that I was talking about earlier. And I will leave you guys tonight. And if you'd like more readings, please join us in the Discord. If you like Mystic Vicky, again, her tarot read, awesome build. And yes, she could use a little help. She's busting her butt in a 3D job, 3D space, to keep her space going, to keep her and Scott going, and the children and the animals. and they're living in a trailer right now. So something that was that I donated to them so that they would be able to survive a winter last year, and it's how we help each other out. But it is better when there's more people, more people coming together, manifest together with compassion, with your heart open. And if you're not able to understand something, or if something was misconstrued, or you're looking at us in a negative point of view, um, come ask questions. So I'm going to sign off for tonight, and you all have a great night tonight. And I hope that you join us soon. My name is Rosemary, so have a great night.